I want to share with us something that is more or less a burden in my heart. When I look at what was and I compare it with what is, I am burdened. And when I look at what is happening in darkness and I compare it with what is happening in light, I'm troubled. What was is the life and the testimony of the fathers and of the patriarchs. The things they wrought in God. The dimensions they handled. The possibilities they created. When I consider it and I compare it with what we are doing today, even though we are expected to have greater advantages, I am troubled because our manifestations is not half what they did in their time. And I begin to ask myself, what is the challenge? That's why I'm burdened. You hear me speak sometimes about Moses. You can compare Moses' reality with all the prophets living in our current generation. It still will not compare. How that one man can face the strongest civilization in the world and bring it down without any external support. All the prophets in the world today gang up cannot face Putin and say, stop this war. Or else something will go wrong. Remember, there are many churches in Ukraine. And then I'm wondering, what did Moses know? What did Moses carry that empowered him so much to confront Pharaoh and say, let my people go? And he shut down the strongest civilization in the world that he lived in. Putin is nothing compared to Pharaoh. Pharaoh is called a sun god. They literally worshipped him because of the powers that he commanded. And he was in league with princes in darkness. A man walks up to him without any form of artillery. He came with a staff. And you know the staff was called the staff of God. Before he met God, it was Moses' rod. When he left the mountains of Horeb, the staff became the staff of God. And one man can enter a nation and shut it down and deliver people from a captivity that lasted for more than 400 years. He didn't need the help of any form of nations gathering together like the United Nations. He didn't need deliberation. He came out of the wilderness. And he walked like an ancient that stepped out of Zion. And when he spoke, his words were equivalent to the words of God. It demonstrated so much power that even after many ages, when you read the account of Moses, you will wonder. Because when he finished with Pharaoh, he didn't stop there. He carried over 4 million people through the wilderness for 40 years. They didn't need a tailor. Their clothes was growing with them. Their shoes growing with them. There was no economic system. Do you know what it means to live with 4 million people for one day? No economic system, but they survived with Moses. And visibly, the Shekinah was traveling with them. They were walking under the visible glory of God. Visibly. He defied weather. He defied the Red Sea. He defied the armies of nations. When they walked through the territory of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, and Og, the king of Bashan, the Bible told us that the warriors that walked in the armies of Og were like beasts. They were beastly men. So Moses did not just fight ordinary soldiers. He fought men that had the strength of beasts. Some of them had beards like lion, and they could fight with their bare hands like many lions fighting at the same time. But when Moses walked through those lands, there was a tale that went ahead that any city they pass through, they lick it up. The terror of Moses made kings to quiver. When Moses is coming in your direction, if you are wise, you will send an emissary ahead to make peace with him. Don't be offended with us. Whatever you need, tell us, we'll prepare it so that when you pass, you will have it. What kind of power? And they didn't have the Holy Ghost living on their inside. Jesus had not died for them. Who were these men? Today in our own country, where we have legitimacy, we are still being oppressed. We have millions of people, but it doesn't have any significance on the scale of things. What is wrong? Hey. Hey, There is something wrong that we have not found. Do you know this nation called Ukraine? God raised a mighty prophet there. He could address the president, his church. 98% were white people. He literally was giving direction to the churches in Europe. But he found a revelation, and his revelation is to attack other pastors. Now, Ukraine is under attack. It shows that his priesthood is dead. So, what is our burden? What is our priority? The constituency that God put you in charge, you left it. You know, Songs of Solomon chapter 1 verse 5 said, look not upon me because I'm black. He said, the sun has looked upon me. I have left the vineyard that my father has given to me, and I was tending to another vineyard. The constituency God gave him to sit upon, to give prophetic direction to that nation, he left it. He was attacking other prophets and other pastors in another territory. Ukraine is under attack. We can't hear his voice. I was thinking he will speak to Putin once. He has not even built enough courage because they will kill him. We talk where talk is cheap. But the power that the ancients wielded, we have not found men to represent God's government among men. And so there is a body. I was asking myself, I said, what happened to all the churches in Ukraine? What about the prophecies over Ukraine? What about the prayers? And then I now advise myself, I say, what if Putin faces Nigeria? Who will stand up and talk? If we can't talk concerning our own election and things happen, what? In building churches and gathering congregation, but we don't have power in territories. Now, this is comparing our time with what was, and this is not a time to start sharing blame or shedding blames, because all of us should play our part. This is not a time to point fingers. Everyone should rise up to fill in the void. It's not a time to say, this bishop, this prophet, this apostle. This is a time to look inward. Because if we don't consider these burdens, our generation will become porous as well. And so these are the things we should contemplate. What can we do to raise the standard so that the world will know that there is a God and that the church is not just a gathering, it's an ecclesia indeed. Now, if you consider what is happening in darkness, it's even more troubling. Because in darkness today, there are many aeons ahead of us as touching spiritual intelligence. There are many aeons ahead of us. If witches gather like this, you won't find any car outside. Everybody will come through teleporting, and it's not a testimony. Everybody will just appear on their seat. Nobody will come there with a car. In fact, where they hold their meeting makes it impossible for you to attend if you are not spiritually intelligent. Some meetings can happen on the ocean. So it's not a place you can even drive to. But everybody will appear there. and they will have meetings and depart, and it's normal. If I appear on this altar today, it will be a national news. There's an apostle in Nigeria that appeared on the altar. It will be a wonder. What we call a wonder is a normal reality in the witch coven. So where are we in spiritual civilization? Where are we? Are we still in the age of antiquity? Or are we making progress? Before we begin to brag with intelligence and knowledge that has no result. We talk as though we sit in heaven with God and make laws. But the basic things of life, we can't address them. And the unfortunate thing is that we are in the last days, where it is a risk to introduce yourself as a Christian unless you have power. If you don't have power, in fact, the days to come, it will be a risk to say you are a Christian. If you introduce yourself as such, you are in trouble. When I entered Pakistan and they saw my passport and they saw clergy, before I knew what was happening, narcotics agents were coming, soldiers were coming, police were coming, immigration. Different uniforms began to appear. Clergy, what are you coming to do? When I looked at them, I said, I came to do good. I'm a philanthropist. Because how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and power, who went about doing good. I now ask myself, if a witch wants to enter Pakistan, will he leave the airport? Are we going forward or backward? Sit down. You reign, you reign, you reign.